I've been loving what this Protoss player has been pulling off as of late. He seems to be, well, on another high right now, playing with the blue Protoss probes. We have none other than Mana. Recently, well, putting up a massive fight against Serral and throwing him off with some crazy build orders. It's been an absolute treat to watch Mana play StarCraft. This time around, though, we have him going up against a Terran player, a previous World Champion of StarCraft 2. We're looking inside of the main base of ByuN. A best of 3 between Mana and ByuN. If you would have asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think I would have said ByuN 2-0 every time. That is not me being a jerk to Mana, it's just that ByuN is an absolute monster. Mana though lately, I mean, I've been impressed. I've been very much so liking his gameplay. Now what are we doing here with this SCV? Where are we going? He's built his very first barracks on top of the high ground, okay. Are we just taking the most convoluted way to get across the map possible? Yeah, we're just trying to be a little bit annoying. Fair enough. Probe already set up over here too. We're just gonna go for the good old engineering bay block. And this is, I feel like this is something you do as a Terran player when you feel like you're a little bit better than the opponent. Oh, okay. I feel like this is the type of thing you do when you feel like you're better than the opponent, because it's always going to just throw a wrench in their plan, right? So whatever Mana had planned for this particular game, everything now has been delayed. He needs to play this a little bit more flexibly. And I think, like, in general, Protoss is probably the least flexible race in all of StarCraft. With Zerg, I mean, if you get messed with early on, you can kind of just make an extra queen or two and you'll probably be fine. With Terran, I mean, your progression is pretty obvious. You don't really have to be too worried about it. If you're concerned, you can make the CC like this inside of the main base. But Protoss does feel a little bit more rigid. You really need to have your build orders pretty sharp. And usually, you're the most timing attack-oriented race. So you need to have all of your things line up. And an engineering bay block like that, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, ByuN also slows down his own expansion with it, so it's not like he really gains anything from it. But it definitely does mess the plans of Mana up just a little bit. Now, Mana is, of course, somebody who's been playing this game for like a decade and a half, so it's not like he hasn't experienced an engineering bay block before. He knows how to deal with it. And therefore, I don't think it was actually a very good beginning for ByuN. Even though, well, he decided to just run that straight across the map. If he would have lost the SCV, I actually would have hated it. I think it would have been a pretty terrible spot for him if he would have lost the SCV. Yeah, just a little bit of minerals lost for the time being. Okay, Reaper just hanging out over here. He doesn't know exactly what is out there, but there's already a Stalker waiting on the high ground. Second Stalker just about to pop up. I would have actually assumed. So again, I haven't really seen Mana play Protoss versus Terran much, but I would have assumed that Mana is a fan of the Sentry First opener. It is just a very European style. In my mind, it's a very macro-oriented style. You can scout out perfectly what the opponent is going for. I wonder if this is something he did because of the engineering bay block, or if he just likes to go for the additional Stalkers here. But if I would have made a guess from, yeah, just knowing his general playstyle, it's generally very macro-focused, I would have assumed he would have gone for the Sentry first. Not the case. This is Stalker, Stalker into Sentry, into good old Blinky boys. Okay. So nothing too out of the ordinary here for Mana whatsoever. A Robo facility on the back of this as well, so it's going to be triple gate Robo together with Blink Stalker. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we've got ourselves a good old 1-1-1 right here for ByuN, of course, with a natural expansion. Terrans in general, over the last few months, have been extremely fond of SCV all-ins. It seems that no Terran player right now enjoys playing the late game against Protoss. And they just go for SCV pool after SCV pool. And more often than not, it seems to win them the game. It's a major skill check, right? Like, if you go for an SCV all-in, so basically you just line up stim pack, combat shields, maybe +1 infantry weapons, you line all of those upgrades up, you bring the boys, you let them tank a bunch of damage. It's a major skill check. I think in theory, Protoss should be able to hold that every time. Kind of like this. In theory, this is not something that should really deal any damage. But we see, well, this type of thing dealing a lot of damage all the time. And it's the same with the SCV all-in. It's something a little bit newer, something that Protoss don't have as much experience against. Raven right now on the back of this as well. ByuN just layering up the aggression. Okay, Stimpack is going to be fired up in a moment. Gas on the low ground. Engineering bay on the low ground as well. Stimpack. Boom. Okay, I'll say it one more time. Boom. Stimpack. Okay, boom. There we go. Perfect. Great timing right there by ByuN. Not even delayed a little bit. Okay, RoboVedo is going to unlock the Colossus ability here for the Robo facility. So we'll probably see that starting up here in just a moment. Technically, you could go into Disruptors. Technically, you could go into a Warp Prison with speed. 9 out of 10 times, though, it's going to be... Actually, more like 98 out of 100 times it is going to be the good old Colossus. Extended thermal lens immediately, too. Forge on the back it is as well. ByuN is going to try and see if he can maybe get a snipe on this third Nexus. And considering the route he's taken across the map, this army has arrived entirely unscouted. So I think that's going to be the easiest snipe of his life. And so far, ByuN is making it look pretty straightforward. I mean, he's doing what ByuN does, right? So, ByuN and Clem, in my mind, very aggressive players. They like to really take control of the game right from the very start. And it's so freaking hard here for Protoss to really get into the groove. It's not like he's in a game-losing position right now, but ByuN is starting to outgrow him pretty rapidly. This game has not gone Mana's way at all, even though nothing too major happened. Now, nice targeting here onto the siege tank. Getting rid of that nice and quickly. We do still have the medevac drop in the top right. Third command center building right now on location. I like, by the way, that ByuN decided to go across the map before these upgrades actually finished. So he decided to go across the map before all of the important upgrades are here. It's also one of the reasons, though, why this fight has gone a little bit lopsidedly. And you know what? Maybe a bit of overconfidence here for ByuN. Yeah, he's got a ton of units out onto the map. Nice micro there by Mana. But they were all a bit disjointed. We had some units idling on the barracks. We had some units just chilling over on the base. And that was about half of the units disjointed from the other half. And Mana, he took the opportunity when he saw it. Okay, so ultimately we end up with a position here that's still fine for ByuN, but it does make everything a little bit more messy. How many Colossi died? Yeah, nothing. One Immortal did die, so that didn't live up to its name, I suppose, like the unit name. But he does have the opportunity right now, Mana that is, to go into the triple Colossus. He can easily get into the charge research here too. With the third command center, though, now up and running. Well, almost up and running. We've got ourselves a Ghost Academy also building up. Not a bad choice whatsoever, but it is going to slow down everything quite a bit. Okay, good force field there. Mana grabs the opportunity. Nicely done. Gets a bunch of free Marines. A couple Marauders, too. Not afraid to sit back. Economically speaking, though, this is where the game really is going to become much better for ByuN. So, in this matchup, Protoss generally is a base ahead of the Terran. That's why we see Mana now with 2 Nexi on the production tab. Taking a very quick 4th base compared to the timing of the 3rd. It's mostly because he had to remake the 3rd base. Ooh, 4 ghosts all at the same time. Okay. Yeah, so ByuN would love to continue being aggressive, but he can't really easily be aggressive here. And it's going to give Mana an opportunity to potentially get back in. From here, Protoss would usually transition towards, for example, well, you could go for an additional Colossus if you want to, but Disruptors. You would love to go into a Skytles army, but that is, well, effectively off the table. Mana, though, just going for a big attack over here. Really getting a lot of useful cases here of these force fields, right? Just constantly sniping free units, slicing that Terran army in half. There is the 4th Colossus, by the way. I didn't realize that he made one of those. Usually you go for only 3. Okay, well, he's seen the ghost now. It's a little bit sketchy. Normally, Zealots are the type of unit that get absolutely destroyed by them. Stalkers are a little bit better against EMP. Does mean, though, that Mana is going to have a hard time spending his gas. Well, what about this fight over here, though? I don't know. Marines and Marauders, still quite a powerful tool. Viking count looking pretty good at this point. We have 6 of them in total. 7 and 8 are coming up. 4th Command Center is going to start building up too. Good blink right there to dodge the damage from those Widow Mines. The Colossi are starting to run very low though. Good effort here by the Polish Protoss player. But I don't think this is going to work, well, all too well. What he has now got is the 4th base fully saturated and up and running. Not bad. 2nd Robo facility coming up, okay. In the meantime, on the other side though, ByuN is going into the 2nd starport. We can use it for Viking production for now. We can maybe get some medevacs going. But what you really want as a Terran at this phase is to go into Liberators. Mass Liberator counters everything that Protoss has. Well, in this particular instance. There are, of course, ways for Protoss to counter the Tempests, or to counter the Liberators, like with, for example, Tempest, but not easily transition into right now, and Mana is certainly not thinking in that direction. +2 armor starts up before the +2 attack. Classic ByuN play. There are some instances where the armor upgrade can be more useful, but 99% of the time it is not. +1 air. Also researching here for ByuN, who does have that 2nd starport ready to go right now, and his army supply count is still looking big. Good EMP there. Okay, Vikings going to town. He's picking off the most important units here from the Protoss player, one at a time. GG gets called. And even though Mana did try his absolute best, he never really got the ball rolling. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on Persephone. Yeah, that previous game was a perfect example of a Protoss player with a very slow death animation, right? Like, you know that the game doesn't really go your way ever since the very start. None of the fights go particularly well, and you can buy a lot of time by, well, for example, having those Colossi out and forcing your opponent to go into Vikings and all that, but every Protoss player knows the feel of those games that are just not going your way at all. You're basically banking on your opponent making a mistake to try and get back into it. And that is the theme, right, with these top-level Terrans. ByuN doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, so slowly but surely, ByuN just chips away at the game, and at some point he can overwhelm just by having more stuff. And ultimately, that is the golden rule of StarCraft. More stuff beats less stuff. This is not Age of Empires or whatever. Depends on which Age of Empires, I suppose, but, you know. It's not like Man-at-Arms hard counter archers here, okay? Marine Marauder, pretty good against everything. Nice little dance here in the early game, though, with the Adepts trying to chase down whatever they can. Ooh, I like that. He backed up to the safety of the healing circle. Can he get back in there? He can. Ah, yeah, he can. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that was on a razor's edge. Mana kept everything alive there, using the healing circle here in the middle of Persephone to his advantage. Killing everything. 3 Marines and the Hellion end up going down. My god. It's actually kind of funny. Protoss players have never been able to repair the HP on their units. Like, it's just never been a thing. You've never been able to get that HP back. Until the healing circles were introduced with the latest map pool change. And I really like it, man. I feel like we get more and more games where players are starting to really explore the effectiveness of it there. Now, I don't know if Mana was aiming for that particular engagement or if he just got a little bit lucky. Either way, he microed it really well. And in a pinch, that can be a very powerful structure to use. Yeah, of course, in the in 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, you can get your hit points back. It's a little bit different. The most cursed thing I've ever seen in multiplayer games, so like 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, is medevacs healing mutalisks. I didn't even know that this was possible until like 3 years ago. Medevacs can heal anything biological. Now, Terran doesn't have flying units that are biological. So I'd never seen a medevac healing a flying unit before, but they can. If your ally plays Terran, you play Zerg, you go Mutas, they go medevacs, you can have medevacs healing it's very cursed. It's a very strange animation. It's like a sideways laser beam trying to heal the units up. Especially because mutas are also like one of those units that rapidly regenerate out of combat, right? So you don't really need to use a medevac on them all too often. Anyways, Raven goes in again. This is a flying start right now for Mana. Yep, he decides to commit with a blink into the main base too. Gets rid of the Raven there reasonably well. Now, I don't see Stimpeg researching anywhere. I don't believe it's been denied. ByuN just didn't start it up yet. Mana taking a page out of... ooh, big blink. Ooh, okay, nice pickups there. Nice bit of micro. Okay, gets the medevac there too. Not bad. Does lose a bunch of stalkers on the way out. Taking a page out of MaxSpecs' book. I haven't been casting a ton of MaxSpecs, by the way, as of late. I've been casting a lot of the offline tournaments. MaxSpecs doesn't play those. His loss. Anyways. Yeah, this is a little bit overly ambitious, but Mana is still going to be able to get quite a bit of value here. And ultimately, right, the lower the siege tank count, the harder it's going to be for the Terran player to ultimately go across. So, ByuN is researching Stimpeg. He's going into +1. He's getting all of those opportunities going here. But if you only have like one siege tank, two siege tanks, it's really difficult to push. And losing the +1 would be a disaster. Looks like Mana has found an opportunity. You can now also blink towards the site. It's a very narrow, blinkable area. Okay, he does lose a Stalker because of it, but 8 SCVs have died, 13 Stalkers, but so much value has been gained. In the meantime, the third Nexus is here. Probes are being transferred towards it. Mana is gonna continue trying to be aggressive. It's very easy, though, at this point to slip up as well, but he decides to go into the main base. No concerns there. Denies the combat shield research, or the combat shield rather research. Doesn't know whether or not he got combat shields or Stimpeg. But this is going phenomenally well right here for the Protoss. And how in the world do you deal with all of this right now if you're ByuN? Third command center, no cancel. Oof. Prism goes down? Nope. Yes. But a lot of the units have to overextend because of it, and obviously Blink on its own is still scary. Plenty of Stalkers remain on the ground. At the very least, though, this is going to give ByuN a little bit of time to breathe. He restarts the third command center. He restarts the upgrades over here. He's going to need a couple of tech labs in the main base, yeah. So he's got those going right now. That's nice. He does have Stimpeg, but any timing attack right now, as we once more have the units taking a little pit stop over at the healing shrine. Any attack that he wants to go for right now is going to be difficult, right? So normally you get this momentum-based fighting as a Terran player. When you skip the third command center until pretty late, you just don't have a huge economy, and you kind of rely on your armies being able to make up the difference. We have a fourth Nexus going up right now for Mana. Mana's gonna add on another Robo Bay here. We've got barracks or gateway number 5 and 6 building. I mean, he is cruising. He's scouting around the map too to make sure that there's no medevac coming in from an angle that he doesn't expect. That is something we've been seeing on this map where, yeah, the pylon over here would see that there is indeed the medevac group heading in this direction. In this instance, it's gonna be a Raven. Easy interceptions though for now. Still, we have seen Protoss players lose from this position. What was it? Cure versus Hero in the GSL finals, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know if I'm remembering the series correctly, but we did have a high-profile match recently where Protoss was super duper far ahead. And then they threw it all in. Yeah, they just went for the 4th base and the Robo Bay and the double Robo production, if I'm not mistaken. And then, well, Terran just sent all of their units across. No, I think it was Maru. Maru going up against Hero? I think it must have been Maru versus Hero. Anyways, you gotta respect these type of Terran armies still. Even though you've been winning the entire game long, this is still an army that can hit you extremely hard. And there's a lot of Widow Mines here in the mix now too, which I quite like. Widow Mines have a little bit of randomness, and sometimes they might just connect with all of the units that you need them to connect with. Beautiful positioning here as well on those auto turrets, by the way. That is a 7 probe killed. Couple of zealots going around the site. This is just Protoss trying to buy time, but look at the supply count. After what was a pretty garbage early game here for ByuN, he does now find himself with double upgrades. He's going into the 2-2 research. He's got himself the 3rd base ready to go. Mana decided to go, by the way, into a 5th Nexus here already. He's lost a bunch of probes, though. Yeah, I think he can win this fight over here. That's fine. Blink. Nice blink. Terran still needs to be respected, though. This is one of the main difficult parts about being a Protoss player in this matchup. When you have a bad early game as Protoss, it's GG. When Terran has a bad early game, it's not GG. As a matter of fact, we transition to the mid game. I mean, maybe that's a little black and white, but that is what the matchup feels like to me oftentimes. If you have a bad early game as Protoss, game over. If you have a bad early game as Terran, we go to the mid game. It's a little unfair, but it is what it is. It is how the different races line up with each other. And ByuN has been given a ton of time here to try and get back into it, and he's been trying his absolute best to achieve exactly that. He's killed 16 probes here. Zealot warp in. Trying his very best, trying to see if he can potentially get some work in. This Terran army is not looking all too mighty. Protoss hitting here right before the 2-2 research is done. I love the continuous Zealot run-bys. This is something that MaxSpecs does all the freaking time, and it's extremely potent. Another Colossus coming up too. Colossus number 3. Oh, he's very late. I was gonna say, something's wrong here with his army. He doesn't yet have the extended thermal lance. His lance is not yet extended. Which is funny because that's also what she said. Anyways, it's gonna be here soon. +2 ground coming up. +1 air coming up as well, though, for ByuN, who's been working on his Viking numbers. Ooh, well, one of them goes down. Ooh, Immortal. Clumsy engagement here for Mana. Nicely done by ByuN. Striked when the iron is hot. He knows that this game is difficult for him right now, but he did snatch a couple of very important units. Ultimately, though, I wonder if Mana just has the bigger army. He's been on 5 Nexi here for a little bit. He may not have the biggest worker count. Reinforcing Terran units, though, popped out of the barracks. They came running down the ramp. He's gone for barracks 6, 7, and 8 together with another command center. So that is command center number 4. ByuN is fighting an uphill battle, but he does it very well. Mana, though, is trying to see if he can end this game right here, right now. And when the SCVs get pulled out of a base like this, you know that things are just about to get dire. He may be able to stabilize here, but the question is, at what cost? 20 workers have died there, and even though the armies did, well, fall on both ends of the map, I mean, it was a trade out of the armies, and Mana got a 20 worker advantage out of it. Which means that this advantage is just going to grow even further. He does have a severe lack of gas. How many gateways are we on? 10 gateways. So 1 warp in. Can we do a little bit of a warp in? There we go. Yeah, he still has a bunch of minerals in the bank, so the supply count is a little bit disjointed. Instead, we're building up another Nexus. I wouldn't mind seeing some additional gases taken, but this is one of those build orders, one of those strategies where you just don't. Nice splitting right there on the Zealots. +3/+3 coming up for ByuN, which I find highly ambitious. I don't know if the game is going to last long enough for those upgrades to ever kick in, but I think in ByuN's mind, it is the only way he's ever going to be able to obtain a win here. He needs to try and stretch out the game at whatever cost until the 3-3 upgrade is done, but we're still several minutes away. Nice little bit of juggling. What about that Prism, though? It's looking very exposed. Marines, I mean, there's only like 1 remaining, a bunch of ghosts trying to see if they can potentially hunt some of these units down. Again, a trade out of the armies, 12 SCVs die, and ByuN realizes that this game is not going his way, so Mana gets a point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Tokamak. What is this, Mana? What are we doing? Okay, we've just planted a probe in the middle of the map. Fair enough. Yeah, no, we're actually gonna go for a Stargate build at home. Interesting. I feel like Stargate really has lost popularity lately. Maybe it's just because of the games I've been watching. Sometimes there's this weird disjointed view when you cast only, like, you know, the absolute cream of the crop. There is a lot of games available right now of, well, for example, Hero, Max Specs, you know all the names, right? And sometimes, like, the top 5 best Protoss players, best Zerg players, best Terran players, they actually play a different style than the others. So for the longest time, the top 5 Protosses were only ever opening up Twilight Council in this matchup. So I kind of was under the understanding, or under the assumption, that we never saw Stargate anymore. Not the case. Everybody right below that did open up Stargates a lot. Now, at this point in time, Stargate builds are pretty uncommon. We don't really see them all too frequently. They're good though, but like... especially with Oracles, I find it kind of interesting. I think Phoenix into Charge Lots is really fun. I think Phoenix into Colossus is strong. Yeah, at this point, ByuN doesn't know. I love this scout though for him. Does he see? Does he see? Does he see? He sees. The Reaper died. The grenade didn't really deal any damage, but he does now get the information that he needs. I kind of missed these openers initially. Oh my god, really? This is what we're doing? Dang. I wonder if this is because he got scouted or because Mana is just cooking up some sort of defensive, hyper laid-back strategy here. So we rushed out an Oracle, got the energy recharge ability, only for it to put down a stasis ward? He made 1 Phoenix too, by the way. And now into a Robo facility. Okay. Yep, I think this is basically the I'm not gonna die to stupid stuff build for Protoss. And at the very least, if ByuN wanted to go for some sort of, I don't know, Widowmine drop, Raven push, like any of those things we've been seeing so far, he would get utterly shut down. So now Mana, well, he's forcing the Terran player to go for something a little different. But ByuN is not afraid to go ahead and mix it up. Now, as we all know, when ByuN gets a medevac out, he will use it immediately to send units across the map. It's in his blood. This man is incapable of sitting still when he gets a medevac out, so can't blame him too much. Stasis ward. Bam! Okay, push the knight. GG. Yeah, go home. Yeah, debated. He decides to go out again. What are we doing now, ByuN? Okay, we're just... I think we're protecting the Marines. That's what we're doing. Yeah, and this really is messing everything up a little bit, right? So... Mana playing so conservatively. He just stasised half of the army, and he still didn't even try to fight it at all. I feel like this is when if you're ByuN though, you're starting to think, right? Like, wait a second. If this was Hero playing, he would have 100% tried to chase down those Marines. 100%. There's no way. Mana just let it slide. He's happy and content just pushing away those units for now and setting himself up for a bit more of a macro game. +1 coming up inside of the engineering bay. Stimpak coming up too. We'll probably get combat shields fired up in a moment inside of the second tech lab. And that means we are approaching the lull in the game. Yeah. This is when both the Terran and the Protoss player just get to play a little bit of a 5 minutes no rush type of setup, you know? They get to enjoy playing a little bit of macro. If you're a big fan of like SimCity, for example, or City Skylines or whatever, this is when you get to worry about such things. We get to do a little bit of base building. I haven't actually played City Skylines in a very long time. I played the second one when it first released, and I didn't really like it that much. The first one, though, I did play for like 100 hours. Maybe more, I don't know. I played the first one for quite a bit. All right, here we go. ByuN, ready to go across the map now. Do we pull any of the boys? We do not pull the boys, and we do go for a third CC. This is once more him moving out before all of those upgrades are done. ByuN not actually pulling the boys. Yeah, it's a little bit curious. I feel like lately a lot of Terran players have been pulling the boys here. I don't think you can really pull it off anymore though, because at this point in the game, you know that there are going to be either a gajillion zealots or, much more likely, a bunch of colossi ready to go. Extended thermal lens here is done, and he now scans and sees what's up. Stasis ward at least is going to be put in position too. That observer is not going to achieve much, but the Oracle has been using its revelation, and this time around, if you walked into the stasis ward, I believe that Mana would hunt it down. So ByuN decides to march back home. Yeah, we've had a lot of posturing, but look, this is what has died so far. We're 7.5 minutes into the game. This is the only thing that has actually gone down so far. So a probe, an observer, an adept, a reaper, a cyclone, and a marine. It's been both players tiptoeing around each other. It's like, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. ByuN's been wanting to play. Mana, evidently not. And if Mana can drag the game out to go the distance, I mean, again, this is something that Protoss players have been enjoying as of late. The late game has been looking better and better and better for them. And it seems like Mana may just be able to get there. A lot of Protoss games will have ended by now, because Terrans just pull the boys and do or die. Building up the 4th base right now. Going into the Psionic Storm research. We've got ourselves the Ghost production also underway. 2nd engineering bay together with a armory. Dude, this really is 10 minutes no rush, even though both players have been going across the map. But this is a extremely conservative game so far for both. It's a weird spot too. I feel like this is one of those positions that ByuN will rarely find himself in. ByuN is always somebody who will send out at least a medevac full of units. At least a Widowmine drop. At least some sort of aggression, right? And that's what the Stargate opener is very good at. When you go for the Stargate opener, you can get yourself into these positions, assuming you can micro really, really well. If you slip up your control, or you get a little bit too aggressive, I mean, I feel like this is too passive, honestly, on the Phoenixes. I really think we should go across the map, lift up a bunch of Phoenix, or a bunch of SCVs, and, you know, get some value that way, but Mana apparently entirely content just hanging out. Gravitic Drive coming up. That is the Warp Prism speed upgrade. It is the I am so freaking rich upgrade, I can just buy whatever I want type of thing. Not something you ever get unless you feel like the game is going to go on for a little bit longer. Another revelation. Ooh, we almost had our 7th unit going down. Actually, it already died. Oh, yeah, look at that. Absolute carnage on the units lost step so far. Hey, Protoss, you want to come over later? Yeah, you want to come over later? We're gonna do some a little bit of upgrade and chill. We just get a little bit, you know, we make some tech structures and we just we do a little bit of upgrading. Nothing quite like it. Dude, this might be the most passive game of pre-VT I've ever seen ByuN play. Seriously. Second starport coming up before any fights. That's crazy. +2/+2 might just finish before any engagement has ever taken place. I think so. At this point, we're headed in that direction. Both players are maxed. Dude, we're actually fully maxed. That's wild. Yeah, we're just chilling. Who benefits this more, though? I'm inclined to say this benefits Protoss. It's really hard to say, but Protoss generally likes this position better. It's so funny because sometimes, ooh, we have storms. Oh my god, even though the Prism did die, those High Templar got in some work. Medevacs, though, obviously full of energy, which ByuN has never experienced in any game of StarCraft 2 ever. His medevacs are pretty much always at half at most. Yeah, so a little bit of damage there was done. It's so funny because in the early days of StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty times in particular, a lot of games came down to 2 players sitting back for 20 minutes, making one army and then clashing once. Like, at this point, it's a novelty to see a game this passive, and we're only at 12 minutes. But back then, all of the games would basically look like this, except for twice as passive. And we all were like, you know, all of us were like, oh my god, this video game is the best game ever made. This feels like an old school type of game to me. It's so funny, too, because I used to watch Wings of Liberty back then, and I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest game ever made. Why would anybody watch anything else? And I remember very clearly that, like, the Warcraft 3 guys, and especially the StarCraft 1 elitists, they were like, yo, this game is garbage. Our game is way better. Why would you watch this boring stuff? Both players just sitting back doing nothing. And I didn't understand. I didn't really understand why, you know, they thought that way, because clearly StarCraft 2 was an amazing... Look at this! 7 command centers on the production tab! Holy crap! We just have 7 command centers all at once. We basically went straight to a maxed out state. Neither player really did any fighting at all. Then we queued up all of the tech, all of the buildings. Probius is stuck. Yeah. Oh no. Step Protoss. Okay, well, okay, maybe not. Ranged upgrade coming up for the Liberators. At this point, though, we don't really have a position. Oh, okay, we get some feedbacks. We get some... Very curious game. Very curious game for the both of them. We're now headed into 3-3 research for Terran. We've already had +3 attack done for Protoss. And neither player has really lost anything significant. Do you think this game is going to get decided by like one big clash? Because I kind of feel like we're headed in that direction. ByuN, though, is prepared to play a 60-minute game. Like, he's building command centers, not just for like the current day and age, but he is making command centers so his kids can go to college. He's preparing, man. Find yourself somebody who prepares for the future like ByuN is preparing for the future right here. Look at this. Everything's so in sync. Oh my god, look at that. Look how the shields upgrade is in sync with everything else. That's wild. 14.5 minutes into the game, identical. Big fight happening right now on the right side of the map. A little bit of a skirmish as well on the top left. Looks like both players, though, decide to leave and replace the lost units with some higher tech instead. Okay. Phoenixes do get a bit of work done. 8 orbital commands. 3 additional CCs. That's actually kind of crazy. That's too many. Oh my god. Mana is cannon rushing the middle base. I mean, rushing. Right? Cannon rushing the middle base. Making sure that Protoss is not gonna be able, or Terran rather, is not gonna be able to mine these resources. That's so weird. This is probably the most passive game of high-level StarCraft I've seen all year. I know that doesn't sound like a unique selling point, or at least not a very interesting type of game, but I find this highly fascinating. Because normally, like, this is both players basically just walking on eggshells, right? Like, they're walking on thin ice. Normally, this is not the type of game we see at all. Okay, one of the Tempests does fall. The units are very clumped up, though, so Storm indeed needs to be taken into consideration. Bank for Protoss is absolutely massive, but it's primarily due to the fact that ByuN has built so many command centers. Static defense going out all over the map now. Mana is just setting himself up for whatever position he wants. Basically, he's drawing a line in the sand, and he's saying to the Terran here that you can't cross it. Well, ByuN apparently doesn't like lines that are drawn in the sand, as he finally commits to a pretty major engagement here. Stims down the ramp, breaks the position wide open before the static defense can finish, and Mana's like, yo, I thought we were playing passive. I thought we were playing a passive game. What are you doing? Okay. Let's see. Storm. Big storm. EMP. Doesn't achieve much. Another storm. Oh, those storms are juicy. Good value. In the meantime, there is that Protoss army down south, too. This is the type of Protoss army that does not care about mass repair. Very interesting hit squad of units over here. It kind of looks like the Colossus is wearing a crown. The more mobile Protoss units, though, are on the left side, as we have a planetary fortress in the choke point, making it difficult for Zealot run-bys to really get anything done. Still, Mana has taken up his half of the map now. Minus this base over here, he has got 50% of the resources on the map taken. Tactical nuke coming up. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think tactical nuke here makes a lot of sense. Trying to break open some of those positions with static defense, I mean, it's not a bad idea. May as well, when you have these resources available. We rarely see nukes in this matchup, but it is technically an opportunity. And this is all because we saw the Stargate opener, right? Like, the Stargate build kind of forces these weird games. Obviously, there were opportunities for ByuN to strike before this point, but all of his normal builds and all of his normal strategies in the earlier stages of this game got countered because of the Stargate shenanigans. Okay, Nexus does fall in the top left-hand corner, but rather than engage the army, Mana has decided to counterattack. There is another planetary over here in the choke point too, though, so those Zealots are actually quite well protected. Vikings are gonna get shut down with ease. We have Storm right here on SCVs that are trying to retreat. In the meantime, the other Terran units are available still. Some of them are working on structures in the middle, some of them are working on a Nexus in the top left. 24 SCVs just died. I feel like ByuN is way out of his league here. Like, this is not the type of game that ByuN normally plays. And he's trying to freestyle it, but it's not working at all. Yeah, Mana has been microing this extremely confidently. I really like that he decided to commit straight to the counterattack. I wasn't sure if like a base race here would be beneficial for him, but looking at the big picture after that happened, I mean, it's very clear that that was indeed the right play here for the Protoss. I think you recall. Can you recall? Maybe a little bit too late now. Yeah, I think recalling there was the right move. He's got so much money, though, so he can easily replace these lost units. Just trying to maximize value, I suppose. Recall was the way to go, but in the meantime, we have a big fight here of some of the reinforcing Protoss units. Going to town, sniping Liberators left, right, and center. SCVs and the planetary fortress itself are next. Mana is transitioning from a high-tech army into a full gateway style. He's got 19 gateways. That's a lot of gateways. That is a lot of gateways. So he's like 2 warp pins every time away from being remaxed. ByuN just made all of those command centers and didn't get any value out of them at all. ByuN's actually broke. It's very odd to see a man with like 7 orbital commands not having any resources, but yeah, he's gonna try and land some mules, but his base is gonna be gone really soon. Mana has been leading the income for a long time. He's rebuilding out of 3 robo facilities right now at the same time too. What a weird game here, but Mana is navigating it brilliantly, whereas ByuN is trying to play on the fly, and I don't believe it's working for him. Mana right now taking a page out of the Zork player's handbook, right, where he's trying to swarm the Terran. He's like soft contain them on 4 bases, check. Then swarm them with reinforcements, check. No banelings though, or lurkers to kill the planetary fortress with. And this base over here at the bottom, I think, has been unscouted. Yeah, Mana doesn't know about it. So that is certainly going to be his next line of attack.
The enemy has discovered us.
The enemy have discovered us? Well, I think the enemy has discovered you too. Or, sorry, you have discovered the enemy as well. Okay. Viking numbers are looking pretty healthy, but not ideal. Ooh, big storms. Tactical nuke, by the way, still available. ByuN has not really found an opportunity yet to go ahead and use it. Man, if Mana spends his money, he can just go. Okay. Thank you for your contribution to this fight. Warps in an additional 16 zealots. I feel like Mana is almost like having a little bit of fun right now. Having fun while playing video games? Is that even allowed? I don't know what the rules are, man, but it seems to me like he's just kind of toying with his food right now. He needs to be careful, though, because ByuN's army is still one that can pack a punch. Yeah, Marine Marauder, Medevac, Ghost, Liberator, Viking. I mean, it's not something that is easily destroyed. A mass amount of reinforcements, once more, is gonna be warped in. Some of the static defense right there also helping out a ton, though. Mana's bank is rapidly depleting, but he still finds himself with some. And he also finds himself with a very significant supply advantage. 12 Stalkers get warped in too. Ay. Alright. We're remaxed again. This time around, the Protoss bank has depleted. ByuN at 140 supply. Some nice storms here going down as well. Liberators, Vikings, all the rest of it. My god. Even though this game started off in the most passive way possible, we have arrived at an absolute bloodbath. And I gotta say, Mana, he managed that very, very nicely. I mean, that was a game of his own design, right? Like, that was very much so the Protoss player saying, okay, this is what we're doing, and you can join in or all in, but this is what I'm gonna be doing, so you better make up your mind. Fantastic game right there by Mana, who does obtain the victory 2-1 over, well, one of the world's very best Terrans. Special shout out today to all of the Patreon supporters. Look at them. Whoa, you want to join them? You can head on over to patreon.com/LocoTV. Thank you.